I'll say that again. Our topic for today is the subject matter of history, the characteristics of the past and relationship between the past and the present. All right, so we'll be looking at the major features or characteristics of history and how historical research or historical writings actually, are conducted. Professor Lukoju had given you some of the pros and cons, the fundamentals, all right, of history writing, all right, how historical work or research actually done. As with most branches of learning, history is basically concerned with examination of how and why certain events and situations have come about, all right, and also the change and continuity or stability within a given human society. All right, so again, as Professor Lukoju must have told you last week, history is a retrospective exercise, all right, whose merit is to basically express both the cumulative and the chronological evolution of theories and to show the recurrence of different, if not opposing approaches, rather than the emergence of an unbeatable synthesis. Pardon? All right, so against this background, this backdrop I've given you, as a girl has actually rightly asserted, that history repeats itself, but he is not mistaken about the enduring characteristics, the character of synthesis. In the sense that historical research or historians deal essentially with facts, all right, facts such as observation, all right, or statistical analysis or data are clouded by the neither idealism nor empiricism. All right, they provide some design but relevant content for interpreting phenomenon. So we can say that historical knowledge production, both as a concept and as an endeavor, takes the center stage in the development and evolution of man. All right, but in spite of this, historians must go through certain principles in reconciling the past of humankind. Through knowledge of historical research, humans are able to make sense of the world they live, avail themselves access to a wide range of ideas, insights, even critique existing concepts, postulate about the developing theories, and push the boundaries of knowledge to birth innovation. So what I'm trying to say with this introduction is that historical knowledge production opens up the portal through examination of histories, culture, and narratives to shape the understanding of the workings or the workings of the global society, of human society. So at its core, historical knowledge production is an endeavor that aggregates the creation, the dissemination, the utilization of information in a way that contributes to the intellectual advancement of society. And it transcends the mere acquisition of facts. That is the point I'm trying to make. All right, historical writing or historical documentation or research transcends the mere acquisition of facts and extends into interpretation, the synthesis, and critical engagement of collected information about the past. As I'm going to demonstrate, the past itself, is intangible. All right. So it is what the historians make of the past, that make history, not necessarily what the past is. So it is through the process. It is a process through which society, all right, historical writing or research is a process through which society engage with their past, all right, interpret the present, and lay the foundation for future exploration. Therefore, one can say that the practice of historical or oral history, for instance, all right, is based on certain assumption, all right, and I'm going to explain that in the course of this class. It is assumed that the past events can be gathered from available oral traditions and from testimonies of people living in the present, Okay, so it is also assumed that the practice of gathering people's testimony and interpreting them, should be based on nature of memory, of narrative, identity, performance, and even power and subjectivity. All right, so however, there is a major challenge, all right, with regards to the writing of history, as I'm going to demonstrate when I'm just giving you a background. All right, so this is because it is very difficult and cumbersome, to capture the past, especially, with people that have been severely altered by several accounts, especially with regards to African history. All right, it is difficult to capture the entire past, especially in periods where there are no written records or documentation of their historical experiences. So there is also the controversy as to whether the past actually exists or it is just a figment of the historian's imagination. These are some of the matter that we are going to lay to rest. Of course, the point that we're going to emphasize is that historical reconstruction, all right, requires assembling masses of verifiable facts and claims and arranging them based on a series of events, generally mostly in a chronological order. All right, that is to say that as a student of history, if you were to be given a topic to write, maybe a history of the Jebu people or the Ilesha people, all right, so a good student of history or historian will first assemble all the available and verifiable facts that are actually available to him, all the claims, and arrange them based on series of events. All right, so history is not just as Professor Lukoju must have told you, it is not just chronicle, it is not just storytelling. All right, it deals with chronological and sequential arrangement and analysis and assembling of facts in a more scientific manner. Arthur Marwick, one of the prominent scholars of historiography, has noted that events of the past themselves do not constitute history. Okay, that is that the historian has to reconstruct the past sequentially based on verifiable evidence. All right, one of the things that are quite essential in writing history, all right, knowledgeably, especially when you are dealing with the pre-literate society, all right, for instance, pre-colonial African societies where there were little or no documentation. All right, what is required is critical evaluation, all right, and the historian's ability to distinguish between historical conjectures, guesses, all right, or verifiable claims. So historians deals with whatever is scientific, whatever can be verified. That's what historians deal with. So it is therefore important to be sufficiently grounded in historical understanding to bring reliable historical analysis to bear in the writing of history, especially when you are dealing with the pre-literate society. All right, don't forget our topic is the subject matter of history, the characteristics of the past and the relationship between the past and the present. So for a historian to want to write about a topic or a subject of history, especially in literate society, it is important for the historian to be armed, to have acquired certain skills. All right, so because historical writing require craft skills, right? Not everybody can just write a historical research or do a historical work. All right, so what is required basically is mastery of what some scholars have termed critical history. All right, and what Gordon Craig has explained as the ability after painful inquiry and sober judgment to determine what part of the past can be verified and correspond with general historical realities. Okay, all right. Some scholars have argued that the appeal of history lies in its romance with facts. All right, its real value ultimately is the process of weighing the evidence, not just the fact. So you could gather facts. Historian or someone writing about any phenomenon could gather many facts, but that is not the ultimate. So the main thing, its real value, the real virtue of history is the process of weighing evidence, and evaluating them by the historian. All right. So after giving this introduction, I will now go into basically the subject matter of history that we will be dealing with. So in the case of history, the concern is often directed more to the past, and to the past of human beings. All right, because history as a discipline or a branch of knowledge is so broad and so complex that its nature is difficult to determine or explore in precise terms. So as a matter of fact, it is often said that there are many views to the nature of the subjects of history, as there are many interpretations to events that occur in history. For instance, in his book The Nature of History, Arthur Marwick, one of the prominent historiographer, if you like, indicates that history has 3 levels of meaning. All right, and we are going to examine these 3 levels of history according to Arthur Marwick. According to Arthur Marwick, the concept of history first can be used to refer to the totality of human action, their experiences, the events they encountered. So in this respect, history is taken to refer to all what actually happened in the past, or simply put, the events of human past. So that means, I told you earlier that the entire past might not be completely useful to the historians. All right. So it is particularly the events of the human past. All right. Because history deals with people. All right. History deals with people. History is the record of the past event that provides the impetus for people to understand their past, appreciate the present, and to project into the future. All right. That is why some scholars also say that history is a dynamic phenomenon that deals with changes and continuity. All right. Second point of Arthur Marwick is that secondly, Arthur Marwick view history as the representation of the works of historians, such as the study of humans. All right. So the past is nothing without the role, the craftsmanship of the historian. So that is why Arthur Marwick view history again as the representation of the past in the works of historians. I think it was Arthur Marwick also that said that history is what the historian says it is. All right, so it is not just what anybody says, it is what the historians says it is, based on evaluation of sources, based on analysis and critical judgment. So in this sense, history connotes man's attempt to describe and interpret the past, or the account of the past events, as we construct them now, basically. So it may also refer to as the science of the human past. So history can be referred to as the science of the human past, okay? Because it has to be scientific. Whatever historians or anyone is writing must be verifiable, must be empirical and scientific. So according to this definition of Arthur Marwick, the events of the past themselves do not constitute history. So it is the historian's philosophical reflection of the past that actually constitutes history. So that means everything that happened yesterday might actually not concern a historian. All right, might not really interest a historian. They probably do not constitute history. Perhaps it is the historian's philosophical reflection, all right, that which the historian is able to reassemble, all right, and process and evaluate and analyze and interpret, that constitute history. So the events are mere raw materials. Events of the past are mere raw materials, and they provide the tools with which the historians reconstruct the past. And this explains why Professor E.J. Alagua in 1978 defines history as the study of man's action through evidence of his past actions. All right, I'll say that again. Professor E.J. Alagua defines history as the study of man's action through evidence of his past action. All right, so I go to the third level of usage of history according to Otto Marwick. The third level of usage of history according to Otto Marwick is in terms of the study of history as an academic discipline. This is the context in which we talk of a degree program in history or a professor of history, as Professor Lukoju rightly probably mentioned last week. So a critical examination of the definition above that I've given glaringly shows that the second definition is the most convincing notion, and this is together with the third, they are the ones with which we shall be more concerned in this discourse. All right, that is to say that history does not deal with the past in its totality, as the false perception would seem to suggest. All right, but the historian, for the historian to be able to deal with the past as it really was, he has to capture it in its entirety. All right, in spite of the fact that history does not deal with the totality of the past, but for the historians to be able to capture, to be able to provide or produce an objective and a scientific analysis of the past, it has to capture the entirety. All right, all the facts must be well assembled, representing different epochs, emotions, sentiments, and subjectivities. Okay, so this is because the reason why we say that is because it is impossible to capture the past completely. It is apparently quite impossible, an impossible task to capture the past absolutely. And this is also because the past usually vanished, all right, after the event had occurred, because after the event vanished, and what the historian is left with are fragmentary evidences, which at best could be faint reflection of the real past. For instance, if you were asked to give an account of your lectures yesterday, Wednesday, 22nd of January 2025, would you be able to account for everything that transpired from 7 a.m. when you woke up to 10 p.m. when you went to bed? All right, would you be able to capture everything line by line, step by step, in an objective and accurate manner? So this will likely be quite more an Herculean task for the best historian or researcher to do. And it is no other reason than the fact that the past usually vanish, and what the historian is left with are fragmentary evidences, which at best could be faint reflection of the real past. It cannot be accurately captured. Okay, so the point being emphasized therefore is that the historian does not deal with the entire past, but only with the traces or statements or records about the past. That is the point. For instance, let me give you an illustration. The Gold Coast, Ghana, the Gold Coast, which is now present day Ghana, the country Ghana, or the neighbor to Nigeria. The Gold Coast went through a colonial period between 1887 and 1957. All right, we cannot deal with the actual event that took place in its entirety. All right, or Nigeria came under colonial rule from less than 1900 up to 1960. Can a historian objectively and accurately capture the everyday realities and occurrences and experiences of the people under colonial rule from 1900 to 1960 completely? That is going to be a mirage. It is an impossible task. All right, and it's to be candid, it's not possible. So what history can deal with is an account of that experience. Historians deal with the account of that experience, not the totality of the event themselves. Okay, are we still together? And this is more so as the past accounts which historians deal with are they are not like a laboratory specimen. I think that is the key point. Okay, are you still with me? Yes, sir. Okay, the past events which the historians deal with they are not like laboratory specimens which could be observed directly and recall when it is no necessary. For instance, if you go to the field to natural sciences like chemistry department, physics, zoology, all right, or botany, where they deal with specimens, all right. So historical accounts or the past, they are not like those specimens which natural scientists deal with in the laboratory. If you analyze a reagent, for instance, in a laboratory, and you are not satisfied with the result you obtain, or you misplace the result, you could probably subject it through similar theories and concept, model approaches, the step-by-step measures which you arrive at the result and still get the same result. So it's not so with historian. As a matter of fact, 3 historians could be assigned a given topic, all right, and each of them will produce different, very distinct interpretations, right? Because it's historical fact or the past accounts, which the historian deals with, are not like a laboratory specimen, which could be influenced by human calculations or concepts, all right, and so okay. In fact, even with the modern technological advancement and the commitment to scientific development, all right, in terms of electronic recordings, equipment, digital facilities, it is still not possible to capture an event in its totality. The best that could be achieved is to record just a fraction, an aspect of that event. Okay, all right. Even if for those who watch Arsenal, Chelsea, football very well, you could see, even in spite of the sophisticated machines and computers and digital technologies, cameras, it is not possible for a referee to capture the entire scenarios or activities on the football pitch, all right, which is just about 400 meters or thereabout. It is impossible for a coach, all right, or a referee, or even the footballers to capture an event. The best of what could be achieved most times when you watch the football is that the camera itself, the cameras are zoomed on where activities are going on the pitch. So it is not possible for a total and objective and accurate account of what transpired on the football pitch in a 40-minute football pitch to be accounted for. All right, so it is a fragment of that will be reconstructed by historians. So in a nutshell, what we are saying is that the subject matter of history is principally the past. Pardon me, please. I said that the subject matter of history is basically the past. The disciplines examine the actions of men and women who existed in the past. It does this through the instrumentality of the fragmentary evidences, all right, about the past, which exists in the present, in both written and unwritten forms, known as sources of history. I think one of the topics we'll be treating subsequently, that I will anchor myself, is sources of history. Okay, so what we are trying to say is that sources cannot be equated with the past itself, because they are not they are so skeletal and fragmentary. All right, the historians must go through the archives in trying to write about the past objectively, or present an analytical and a representative account of the past. The historian must go through archives, searching for documents, private papers. You will collect traditions from people. Can everybody mute themselves, please? I need, if you know you're in a noisy environment, can you mute yourself? I need people to mute themselves in this class. Okay? All right, so the point I'm making is that the historians, in trying to carry out research about the past, must be very, very comprehensive in his approach. All right, he must apply an eclectic approach. All right, he must go through the archives, searching for documents and private papers. He will collect traditions from people. All right, I believe Professor Olukoju told you about traditions, oral traditions, from various people, which he will utilize, all right, in addition to other relevant sources, in order to discover significant things about the past. That is to say, what we're trying to say is that history covers things that men have said, done, or offered. All right. It also involves the study of present traces of the past. All right. If that person's talking can mute his or herself, all right, we would really enjoy the class. Can we charge the person who is disturbing to probably mute his or herself? Okay. So history involves an intellectual process. All right. Historical writing or historical knowledge production is an intellectual process. First, like any other science, since it thrives on accurate observation and positive imagination. It brings out the attitude and behavior of people, sometimes unfamiliar to us and belonging to a different age and place. We need that person to mute his or herself so that the distraction. Adelakun, Adijat, mute yourself. Thank you. So, what we are trying to say is that the content for historians to write meaningfully about the past, it is important for the historians, to bring out the attitude of behaviors of people, unfamiliar to us, analyze the motive. Professor Olukoju must have told you that history is about how, why, when. All right. So history is about certain questions. A historian writing about any subject must first ask the question why, how, when, then who. All right. So because history deals with people, history deals with humans. All right. It is not just the history of the past. It is the history of human activities. All right. Okay. So the content of history is so rich, varied, and often subtle that only a selection of it can be handled by the historian. That is the point you're trying to say. All right. Indeed, all history, in the words of Ian Expian, involves the selection without which it is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury and signifying nothing. History is a dynamic subject, as I've mentioned. This is because new ideas often emerge daily, keeping history in a perpetual developing stage. History is a dynamic phenomenon that deals with changes and continuity. That is why historians do not agree that history repeats itself, or that the reasons why a particular event occurs in a particular location is the same reason. For instance, in the last few days, in different parts of the world, for instance, a case in Nigeria, where you have fire explosion somewhere, all right, in the US, in California, all right, you've had fire outbreaks, fire outbursts in several parts of Los Angeles. So a historian trying to write about recent occurrence of fire incidences in the world cannot just conclude that the same reason for the outbreaks of fire in California is still the same reason for the fire disaster in Nigeria, in Zamfara or Ichokoto, just a few days ago. For one, in northern Nigeria, the one that happened, it was a fuel tanker. All right, it was a fuel tanker. A fuel tanker actually broke down, and people went there to scoop petrol, PMS, and in the process, the thing caught fire, and hundreds of people were burned to ashes. In the US, for instance, in California, Los Angeles, there was fire outbreaks, which was based on natural environmental induced problems, all right, and also some technical challenges, all right, regards to getting adequate fire. So the widespread of fire in America in the last 1 week is not the same with what has happened in Nigeria. So historians writing about a history of fire disaster, in the world in the last 1 month cannot attribute the same problem or causes to the different scenarios. Historians must gather his evidence, must arrange his fact logically, sequentially, and scientifically. All right, that is why it is different from natural sciences. History is quite different from botany or biology or chemistry or physics. History deals with human beings and not objects. History deals with behaviors of human actions which cannot be subjected to laboratory evaluation or laboratory analysis. Okay, you understand? So history does not always follow universally accepted foundations of scientific knowledge, such as mathematics, where you apply theories, formulas. When you say this formula A and B and X equals to this and that, history does not follow such natural scientific formulas like mathematics or physics. History is flexible in content and in scope or period. Okay, and history is now becoming increasingly interrelated to other disciplines such as linguistics, anthropology, archaeology, geography, sociology, political science, and even botany. All right, it also deals with behaviors of other people. All right, and I've mentioned that. All right, according to Professor and XPN, the stuff of history is largely the behavior of adults, their purposes, glories, their successes and failures, their kindness, cruelties. It is a story of heroism, war, death, of subtle maneuvering among wise, foolish, and often ruthless men and women. The quest for an exercise of power and recurrent themes, as it affects the society. So you could see, the quotation of an experience how history cannot be subjected to a monocausal analysis, which Professor Olukoju told you. History then is a study that involves and deals with things that happened and not things that is present. Okay, so history deals with the past. It deals with things that happened, not things that is present, according to Elton. So history boasts of more independence than the natural sciences. While according to a set of pattern, the historian does no such thing. Historians do not use a particular formula to arrive at his own conclusion. The historian can select his material, of course, but these materials are already a reality, must have been a reality which cannot be subjected to experiment. Do you understand? Other than analysis and judgment, interpretation. Okay, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Are we still together? Hello? You are still following me? All right, so the point I'm trying to make is that it is so easy to separate good history from bad history. All right, through the appeal of history lies in its romance with fact. That is the point. The truth is that the appeal of history lies in its romance with fact. Historians deal with facts. Historians are not like journalists, all right, who deals with unverifiable claims and assertions. All right, a journalist hears that someone just slapped someone in Shomolu bus stop, runs to the place without probably even gathering adequate and verifiable evidence. All right, the journalist churn out writings and say that a young man slapped an old woman without really evaluating whether it was a woman who slapped a young man. So historians distinguish, assemble his facts, evaluate them based on the craftsmanship, all right, of historiography, basically. So it is easy to separate good history from bad history. That's the point. So through the I've mentioned that history becomes bad when the historian allows prejudice, all right, and personal feelings to cloud his judgment. The reality is that it is indeed very, very impossible to achieve absolute objectivity. The historical interpretations and analysis cannot be entirely objective, all right, because historical research and interpretations are actually hampered by a number of limitations. All right, the availability or accessibility of resources. All right, the historian's craft, in interpreting the sources, methodological and conceptual or theoretical factors such as or understanding. All right, the broadness of the historian's understanding of theories and concepts, the interpretation. Then fundamentally there is the preferences of the historians. His emotions also is there. All right, his taste, his socio-cultural or emotional leaning. All right, and the innate subjectivity of the human mental process. Of course, there's also the loss of memory, because whatever is stored in the head, the historians probably store information in the air, and wherever it is stored or received through the transmission of information from one person to the other is subjected to diminishing returns. All right, okay, so all of these are factors that actually hampers, that actually could limit objective reconstruction of history, as Lord Houghton interprets history as a process of recording man's progress, and at a large stage it shows how man has progressed up to date, and the solution he has found facing. So any history therefore must be considered contemporary, since history attempt to explain the past through the eye of the present. Okay, are we still together?
Yes, sir.
All right, so another point to note is that a historian, another point to note is that historians deals with different period. And I think Professor Lukoju must have taught you periodization in history. Can that person mute yourself? Okay, Favor, mute yourself, please. So I said it is argued that a historian at different period, and different situation might view an event differently. All right, that is the key point. So two people might be writing about a subject or an occurrence of the past, but their interpretation, all right, would not be the same. All right, that is why an attempt to define history, what history is, or the nature of history, tends to reflect and show the position of individual, all right, or the nature of the society at that particular time. All right, historical research actually is influenced by the temperament of the historian, his mood, his sentiment, his biases, his prejudice, the milieu, the period upon which the historians, when the historian is writing. For instance, if you encounter the works of scholars who probably lived in the 20th century and wrote about some of the activities of the missionaries, European missionaries, all right, or the post-colonial realities in Nigeria, their analysis, because of the fact that they were present in the period when some of those events occurred, their analysis, their interpretation will be quite different from probably a millennial or a Gen Z who is trying to reconstruct the colonial history of Nigeria, because the milieu, the environment, the epoch, the period that each of these historians lived, all right, are not the same. Okay, that is why I would want to like to mention Colin Wood, who explained this view further by stressing the belief that any history is history of thought. Any history is history of thought. All right, it is the enactment of the historian's mind, of the thoughts, that constitute the history that he is studying. In other words, history is the interpretation of the events that makes them into historical fact. History is the interpretation of events. All right, it is the historians who make history, not the fact which history contains. That is the point. So the subject matter of history rests on the notion that history is also seen as establishing a close link or connection between the past and the present, but the interpretation or analysis of that is actually based on what the historians make of it. All right, due to his analysis or processing or interpretation of its facts. So it is a teacher that shows the beauty or value of mankind. All right, a historian is a teacher that shows the beauty and value of mankind. And according to Basil Davidson, history is the picture we can make of all our ancestors, of what happened to them and how they lived. Okay, so it seeks the subject matter of history again. No, history seeks to explain why people of the past behaved the way they did and not in different ways. Why they failed in some things and succeeded in other ways. Okay, why they had wars and misery, famine, epidemics, all right, poverty, peace, wars, and happiness. It is necessary to understand these things, in the past, if we are to have a proper understanding of, the present. Another strong advocate of, interrelationship, which is the point I want to make, is E.H. All right, E.H. who examines the purpose of history and selecting of events of historical significance, a study of the causes, all right, of events. Are we still together?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So do you have any question at this juncture for us before I summarize? Is there any question?
No, sir. No question.
I have a question.
All right, please go ahead.
Because history deals with changes.
Yes, I said history deals with changes and continuity.
I don't understand that part.
Okay, when we say history deals with changes and continuity, that means is that historical realities are not static. Historical, because the society, the world itself is not static. All right, so history deals with changes and continuity. The interpretation of sources cannot be the same in different contexts. All right, if you are writing about the NSAS, for instance, the history of the NSAS, all right, the interpretation will be different based on the evidences available to the historian on the one hand, all right, and you will not say that NSAS, for instance, happened as a result of youth mobilization against the police and SARS, and to say that the protest that happened last year, the End Bad Governance protest, also was as a result of the reaction of the youth against the police or SARS. No, history deals with changes and continuity. The historian will not say that because the NSAS was mobilized by disgruntled youths who were angry with the SARS or police, that the end bad governance that happened last year also happened because of the same factors. Historians must gather facts and be able to analyze them separately. So the idea of monocausality using one explanation for different realities, they are not acceptable in historical research. Changes and continuity, because events, human societies are not static, they are dynamic. So the causes of events, all right, cannot be the same, all right, in the same degree and intensity. All right, so I will try to summarize now before we go to the Q&A session. Okay, according to Professor Pachai, history has 4 characteristics, all right, and I'm going to analyze that in my summary. So first, it is scientific. History is scientific in the sense that it begins by asking questions and proceed methodically to find answers to that. I told you earlier that history deals with questions. Why, how, who, okay, when, and other questions as such. So history is scientific in the sense that it begins by asking questions and proceed methodically to find answers. It is humanistic also because it asks questions about things done to human beings at determinate times in the past. All right. Number 3 is that it is rational. History is rational in the sense that it is based on answer. It bases its answers or interpretation on evidence. History is rational. History is not journalistic. No, I just give you an example. A journalist could get an information. Someone could send a WhatsApp chat to a journalist that an event happened in Ujuelegba. All right, the journalist is not there. He has not collected any verifiable. He just gather a few information and publishes something in the next few minutes and say, and that is why on daily basis you see. Today I was listening to the Minister of Works, David Mai, who is actually taking Daily Trust, one of the newspapers, to court, and asking them to publish an apology in 5 newspapers for an uncritical analysis of the situation. All right. So history is rational because it bases its answers and analysis on evidence. Historians just don't write anything for the sake of writing. It has to be scientific, verifiable, all right, and empirical. The other thing is that history is self-revelatory. In the sense that it exists in order to tell man what man is by telling what man has done. That is self-revelatory. Historians who are writing history are also humans, all right, and they reconstruct to illuminate the understanding of society about the activities of human. So it is this very aspect of history of telling man what man is, by recalling what man has done, that represents one of the fundamental virtues of history. This interaction between the historian and his fact is referred to by historian as the dialogue between abstract events and isolated individuals, and between society of today and society of yesterday. So history is by nature not static. That is the point I'm trying to make. History is by nature not static. Now, to answer the lady who asked me a question, what do I mean by changes and continuity, is that history is not static. It involves changes and process of movement. Human society is not static. All right, and so that is why you will not attribute the causes or the cause of a particular event or reality to a monocausal explanation, because things changes. Human beings also change. They are also influenced by different ideologies, concepts, norms, culture, philosophy, and even experiences. So the fact that history attempts to show that human beings have evolved from an earlier stage to the present should naturally involve some concern about what the next stage is likely to be. So I'll conclude with a few historical facts as we have explained. All right, as emphasized in the introductory session, the task of the historian is to discover what happened in the past. Okay. The past, the trust, the major responsibility of the historian is to discover what happened in the past. All right, through several processes which we have highlighted, assembling masses of verifiable evidences, arranging them in a sequential, and interpreting them in a rational, in a scientific, all right, and objective manner. Okay, all right. So there is, in any piece of historical writing, there are issues that must be considered. As a historian, you want to read a particular historical material or you want to write a historical piece, there are fundamental principles that must be considered. The first is that there is the concept of the past, which must be understood, which, as noted earlier, the past with which the historians deals is dynamic and ever-changing. The past is not static. The past of the past of yesterday is not the same past of today. All right, even in your own personal realities. All right, so there is therefore the fluidity of the past. Every second that passes adds to the past, and as we add to it, we change or alter the fluidity of the past. in relation to present realities. Do you understand? All right. So the second point is that what do we mean when we talk about the past, and what do we say? What do we mean when we say the past? The past activities. All right. Or what do we mean when we say the past exists? No, this is a matter that has been a subject of controversy among historians, all right, and philosophers. As a matter of fact, some philosophers have questioned the existence of historical knowledge, all right, and these questions have mostly been based on the nature of knowledge itself and the methodology of history, and also the material with which the historian works, as well as his role in its interpretation. Who is even the historian? Those are the questions the philosophers will ask. Who authorizes the historians? Who defines the parameter which the historian uses in gauging, in interpreting and analyzing events? All right. So does a thing exist if you cannot even see it? The past, for instance. Can anybody see the past? Can anybody hold on to the past? All right. So if no one could lay hold to the past, does anything even exist which you cannot see? The past, which is just fluid, all right, like water. All right. So is it possible for the historians to know what took place in the past entirely, given the fact that it did not even exist in the past, and so never witnessed many of the events? For instance, if you were asked to reconcile or reconstruct the history of British colonialism in Nigeria, how would you do that when you do not even live or exist? So you gather data, the sources, primary sources, secondary, archival, oral sources, interviews, all right, and what have you. So there's also the question of how much of the past can the historian really know from the evidence of the past that exists in the present. How much can the historian really know, as a result of his ability to gather evidence in the present? All right. And lastly, by the time the historian has interpreted and analyzed his evidence, would his work be representative of what actually took place in the past? All these questions are critical issues that actually resonate with our subject matter of history, right? The characteristics of the past, the relationship between the past and the present. All right. And the historians writing about the past must bear in mind these questions in his interpretation. It has to be methodical, it has to be rational, it has to be scientific enough, and it has to be eclectic in his gathering of materials. Historians does not rely on one sources and say, because I've spoken with Mr. A, like the journalist does, there's no need to talk to Mr. B or Mr. C. Historians obtain information from diverse range, all right, of sources, to be able to arrive at an objective conclusion. So it is paramount to know that there is no way through which we can bring the past to reality, or as it is. We cannot present the past absolutely or objectively as it really happened. All right. Even if something happened yesterday, as I've mentioned, its record is taken and kept. Right? That cannot be the past itself, or it cannot really be the past itself, because the entirety of that past yesterday cannot be reconciled or recollected. That's the point. And as a matter of fact, even with the present modern electronic recording materials such as the radio, the camera, the video equipment, ICT facilities, we can only capture part of what actually happened, not all. All right. So in what sense does the past exist? That's the question I'm posing to you. So if I ask you the question in the exam, you understand that I'm talking about the subject matter of the past. In what sense does the past exist? Maybe that's the question I'll give you in your assignment. That I will note that down now. All right. And that's quite interesting question to ask you. So apart from the past and the problems associated with it, there is the audience for whom the historians write. And for the history, for them, history is what the historians record and present. And that is, historians must bear in mind the audience to which is writing. Okay, and his analysis must be tailored to meeting or representing their intellectual understanding of that subject. So together with the historians, the people, the society live with the present. All right. Okay. All right. So let me try to summarize by saying that so far we have established that the duty of the historian, okay, is to establish the facts. Yet history is not a catalog of facts. That is the point I'm trying to say. All right, I've been laboring. All right, I say that again. What I've been saying for over an hour is that the duty of the historian is to establish facts, the facts. Yet history is not a catalog of facts. The journalists have facts. All right, the newspaper, if you go to a newspaper stand, you see people brandishing facts here and there. New pepper soup joint, if you go to beer parlor, people have facts. All right, but that is not what history. Historians are not beer parlor analysts. They are not journalists. All right, they are not pepper soup joint discussants. Okay, so for the fact that for the fact of history is to the historian, the fact of history have no meaning until the historians interpret them. All right, historians does not just romanticize with facts. They say that, okay, I have many facts. What do you do with the facts? If you have the facts and you cannot subject them to critical historical analysis, all right, to the craftsmanship of historiography, then the facts are useless. All right, the people in the beer parlor, they have facts. Ask them about this history of fuel subsidy in Nigeria. All right, ask them about history of terrorism in Nigeria. Ask them history of neoliberal policies. They have all these facts, but history does not just deal. Historians do not just romanticize with facts. All right, it is the ability of the historians to interpret, all right, to process and analyze these facts. So given the crucial role of analysis and interpretation in history, one may then pause to ask, how accurate and true is the knowledge produced by historians? All right, I've mentioned that question. Of course, this question is pertinent because interpretation is in itself not only objective. I've mentioned that the historian's ability to reconstruct the past is even subjected to a lot of limitation. The innate subjectivity of the human mental process, the biases, the prejudice, the tastes, the choices, the preferences, the ideological leaning and philosophy of the historian, they are limiting inhibitive factor in his objective analysis of events. There are also the other issues like methodological ability of the historians to reconstruct or reconcile events. The craftsmanship of in historiography. All right, not many historians have the thorough skill to be able to analyze these facts, except those who have been subjected to the craftsmanship of historiography. Okay, there is also the accessibility to sources. It is some historians who just rely on few sources. They've gathered few materials and depend on that. Historians do not rely on historians are eclectic. They are very broad-minded. All right, they do not rely on oral interview, oral sources, oral tradition, oral evidence. They do not even rely only on archaeology. They have to combine oral traditions with archaeology, with linguistic evidences, with written sources, all right, with botany, with sociology, with anthropological reports, and what have you. All right, that is why the historians are quite distinguished. All right, they are quite distinct from all the other people who write hagiography. Prof must have mentioned that hagiography. Anything that is not subjected to historical craftsmanship, historiographical craftsmanship is hagiography. All right, praise singing, self-adulation, and brown envelope writings, and all of these exist. All right, so emanating from the role of the historian is the critical thing about the work of historian is interpretations. All right, historians interpret the fact. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, and historians produce scientific knowledge about the past. In other words, history is nothing but the historian's creation of experience. That is what I'm trying to make. History is nothing but the historian's creation of reality. And that is why, in the words of R.G. Collingwood in his book, The Idea of History, all history is the history of thought, because history is the reenactment of the historian's mind or of his thoughts, all right, and his craftsmanship, right. And G. Barraclough further corroborates Collingwood when he remarked that the history we read, though based on fact, is strictly speaking not factual at all, but a series of accepted judgments. Okay, I'll say that again. G. Barraclough corroborates R.G. Collingwood in his remark when he noted that the history we read, though based on facts, is strictly speaking not factual at all, but a series of accepted judgments. So all this raise the crucial questions about the possibility of true historical knowledge. All right. If you have any question, let me know so that we can go to the question section. Thank you.